Hi, I'm Katherine Meckling, Communications Director at Side, and I am here with Verl Workman, co-founder and CEO of Workman Success Systems. Verl, thanks so much for joining me.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so the big question on everyone's mind right now is the market is shifting. What should agents be doing to prepare?
Okay, we can start with that and end with that. That's a lot of things. Right now, I think the agents should be preparing to take market share and grow. A lot of people are waiting to see what happens to the market, but the life events that occur that cause people to move don't stop happening just because interest rates go up. You know, people move because of things that happen, not because of the realtor. And so our job as realtors is to make sure we're at the front of their mind at the moment that life event occurs. And so I would say that the most important thing they can do is make sure they're messaging properly to the market, that they're prepared to help them regardless of what's going on. And I also like to say that our realtors have to be options dealers, meaning that they have to show up with options. You can't just show up and say, you know, it's easy to get a mortgage. You have to have other kinds of options and messaging in order to be able to get business today.
You mentioned that this is a great opportunity for realtors to gain market share.
Yep.
Are there certain types of agents you see as being, more successful in this environment than others?
Yeah, big time. There's a lot of agents that got their license because real estate was easy. And in the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, if you showed up, you could sell a house. It wasn't that hard. Well, now all of a sudden they have to prospect. They have to figure out where business is going to come from. They have to look for new lead generation. They're actually going to follow up with leads that they haven't been doing in the past. And no one's really taught them how to do that. And so the ones that are successful, the ones that have been through a challenging market before, that go back to the basics, or they never stopped doing those things when the market was good. And so they'll recruit better. So we'll see our offices grow because agents are looking for leadership, and we'll see our teams grow because they have structure and process to help people do things they've never had to do before. New agents that don't know what to do need to find a company or a team that has those processes in place to teach them how to hunt, because it's time to do that. And the ones who have it absolutely will gain market share and grow, not only individual agents, but also brokers and owners.
I know that you are a huge proponent of the team. Can you tell me a bit more about that? Why do you believe teams are the future of real estate?
I think it's funny that for so many years in real estate, it's always been about the realtor. We put our pictures on our cars and our business cards and our cover look shots of what we used to look like in high school. And it was all about the realtor. Well, the consumer really doesn't care about the realtor. The consumer cares about their own family. They care about the house they're going to get, where their kids are going to go to school. And when you're good at anything, it creates more opportunities. So I want you to think about that. So if you're really good at real estate, what happens is everybody tells everybody how good you are, and then you have more opportunities. And when you say yes to those opportunities, you have to say no to more important things in life: family, faith, friends, fun, fitness, food. I added that one. Right? There's all these things that are more important to us than just work. And so all this opportunity comes, you have to decide, do I not do the opportunity? Do I not help the families with their real estate? Or do I not take care of my own family by being present? And so what teams give people is leverage. It gives us the ability to create amazing client experiences and still have a good balanced life. I like to say that if you're going to spend time away from your family, how about we make it worth it? And so if you spend any of your time as a real estate agent doing administrative tasks, that means you're telling your family that they're not worth $25 an hour because you could have delegated that or paid somebody else to do that. And that's not, I don't mean to belittle any agent that does it themselves. I'm just saying that it's a choice. Okay. And so teams work because the consumer likes to work with specialists. I mean, you think about it, you have a specialist for nails and a specialist for hair and maybe even a different specialist for color. When I had back surgery, I didn't let my general practitioner do it. I wanted Tiger Woods' back doctor, right? We want specialists. And so the same is true in every other business, but in real estate, we've all been generalists. Well, the teams take that away and take it to a whole new level where now you get to work with someone who is really, really good at buyers, or just unbelievable at sellers because that's all they do. Or transaction, I call them empowered champions, not assistants, but our empowered champions are phenomenal at taking contracts from contract to close. And you get a specialist at every area of the transaction. The consumer expects it, they get it in every other industry, and that's why teams are blowing up in real estate, and that's why we focus and specialize in working with teams.
It's interesting that you mention that, teams allow you to have more time for other things outside of real estate, more time for your family. I do think there's this perception that, if I start a team, am I going to be actually taken away from the, actually buying and selling homes? Am I going to be spending more time on people management, on, systems for all my team members. It's actually going to be a time suck rather than, giving me back time. What would you say to people who have that perception?
I would say initially you're probably right because you have to learn it. And so it's going to take a little bit of time. If somebody tells you just hire people and they all do what they're supposed to do, they're not telling you the truth. It's hard. And no one's really taught us to be leaders. So we have real estate agents who are really good at real estate, and now they have people working for them on their teams, but no one's taught them how to lead. And so it takes a little bit of time, but over time, what happens is your ability to develop people and to train them and to become experts in different areas of the business becomes so good that you don't mind letting them work with your A clients. There's a lot of things that team leaders do wrong. If you ask me about that, I'll tell you that make it so they can't delegate. A lot of people set up their compensation wrong, for example, and so because of that, they can't afford to give away an A buyer or an A seller because they're overpaying their team members, and so it disincentivizes the behavior that they want. There's lots of little things like that that we can talk through and help people figure out. So yes, it takes a little more time, but over time, what happens is, I tell people that when you're at 30 million in production, or let's say you're doing 60 houses, you're overwhelmed. You have a lot going on. You probably need a good assistant to help you. When you're at 100 million, you're working less than you are at 30 million, because now we're putting technology and infrastructure and people in place to take a lot of those things off your plate. And then when you go to 200 million, you can choose to do real estate or not. You do it because you love it, not because you have to. So as you grow your team and you build it correctly, your amount of time goes like this and revenue replacement happens.
Right. You mentioned that in a market like this one, it's really important for people to have a good leader. What does it take to be a good leader of a team and ensure that people really stay with you and don't migrate elsewhere?
People don't leave companies, they leave leaders. And so if you have turnover on your team or turnover in your office, you get the mirror out and say, why are people leaving? Because it's not because of the brand, it's usually because of the leader. To be a great leader, my leadership philosophy is serve regardless of opportunity. And if as a team leader, your thought process is, I'm gonna hire people to work for me so I can make more money, then you probably won't have a very successful long-term team. So I look at leadership as, what can I do for the people that I lead to help them have great lives? And if I pour into them and I teach them everything that they need to be successful, then they have a tendency to stay and follow. And so great leadership is servants, is you serve. And if you serve the people that you lead, then their businesses will thrive and so will yours as a result.
Workman Success Systems recently put out a study all about teams. Could you share some of the insights that came out of that study?
Yeah, so the reason we did the study is because we have all these opinions on teams, but there wasn't deep research that somebody come in and said, okay, what do people want in teams? What kind of impact are they having? Some of the statistics we found, and I'll use general numbers. We learned that 2/3 of the people studied, we found they were more successful and they were more productive and they earned more income being on a team. And 2/3 of that group, so the whole study group, were team members, not team leaders. So when you think about that, team members are on a lower split, but they were more successful, earned more income, and were more productive being on a team because it creates an environment of productivity. Another great statistic, which is huge, is that 89%, which is almost every one of them, said that they only want to work with brokerages who support a team model. Right. And so as a broker owner or brand, if you don't have a team focus, most brokers, they respond to teams, but they aren't proactive about it. They tolerate them, but they don't create an environment where they can thrive. So they're team tolerant. And teams are saying that we don't want to work with brokerages that don't have a team model.
Are there critical numbers that leaders should pay attention to so that they can grow and scale their team?
There's real critical numbers, so let me give you a few of them. So the first one is this: for every listing that you generate, you should close 1.5 buy-side transactions. So if you look at your numbers and you're 50-50, you've left a whole bunch of money on the table. For every listing that you generate, you should create and generate 6 to 8 leads per month. So when you look at your lead generation, if you have 10 listings, you should be getting 60 to 80 leads a month, and we track that. Now, for every 25 leads that we generate, we add a buyer's agent. And so this formula, what I found is that when you're not doing 1 to 1.5, so you're not doing 1.5 buy sides, it's usually because you don't have enough buyer's agents following up with the opportunities. And so the team leader does the A leads, the ones that are ready right now, and then they have the good intention of following up the B and C leads, but they just don't. And so, and when you follow that formula, I can look at somebody's business and in just a couple of seconds, I can tell you if they're out of balance, and most are. Then we just plug those holes. So what we do is we look for gaps, and then we coach or we train to those gaps.
And obviously, your business is called Workman Success Systems.
Yep.
You have created a ton of different systems that agents can implement. What are some like really simple, like you could put them into place today and start seeing results tomorrow, systems for an agent?
I believe anything you do 3 times in your business, you should create a system for it. Systems first, assistance second. And so a couple of simple systems are, what do you do daily? I think everybody's a creature of habit. We do have routines that we do every single day. So what are your daily success habits? We do a thing called the Daily Success Habits Tracker. We get 61 points a day doing very specific dollar productive activities. And then I ask people to track in 30-minute increments what they actually do. So what do you do all day in 30-minute increments? And here's what I found. If you'll track that in 30-minute increments, then you go look at it, you'll become aware of how much or how little time you spend doing activities that generate income, and you'll make adjustments. A lot of people think that accountability is something that someone does to you. Sure. And I believe accountability is just awareness. If I show you something's not working, I think that most people don't want to do things that don't work, and they'll make course corrections, they'll make those adjustments. So Daily Success Habits Tracker, that's an easy one. Another system is, you heard me talk about leads. Mm-hmm. Is it an A lead or B lead or a C lead? That's a simple system. A leads we have an appointment with. B leads we call twice a month during the week that the 1st comes and the 15th falls in. C leads we call once a month during the week of the 8th, and then we call through our database during the week of the 22nd. That's a whole lead conversion system, and it is phenomenal. Like I just gave it to everybody. You can all do it. Doesn't require, no one has to buy anything, just follow it.
So you mentioned if you do something more than 3 times, there should be a system for it.
Yep.
Why?
The reason is because everything we do well is in our head and it's in our heart. And so there's amazing realtors out there. They're just good at the business. I don't need to teach them anything about selling houses, but they bring somebody else in and they're trying to teach them what they do, and they don't understand why they don't get it. And it's because we have 20 years of experience and we've done all this great things, and we just know it. And we don't get it why they don't know how to show a house, or we don't get it. So if you're going to show houses 3 times, you write down, how do you approach the client? What's the greeting sound like? What are the things you look for? How do you ask questions to find out if the buyer's interested? What are those questions? Well, when you start writing it down, you realize, oh my gosh, I do the same thing every time. Now when you bring somebody else in, you can train them, and then they'll do what's in your head and your heart. And that's how you create duplication. That's how you create scale, is with those systems. Other things are like, the reason we do systems, we don't want things to fall through the cracks. You know, the transaction has gotten so complex and so it's a nightmare. Well, how does an agent keep track of all of those things in their head? Right. And so we use technology and systems to create workflows of everything that we do 3 times, and then all you do is set. It's like Ron Popeil's chicken roaster. You just set it and forget it, and then all those tasks show up when they're supposed to be done, the date they're supposed to be done. And then anybody sitting in that seat with some intelligence can execute on the system.
So systems are what allows you to teach other people and to scale your business.
100%.
You work with a lot of different agents. What are you seeing the real top of the top agents doing right now that is differentiating themselves from the rest of the pack?
Elite agents or top tier agents always are coached. They have somebody in their life that looks at their business from a different perspective, because when you're in it, you don't see it. So having someone that coaches them. The other thing they do is they realize they're not in the real estate business. They're in business development and people development. High performers focus on creating opportunities for their team and then developing their people to be great at it. When you stop, running around showing buyers, you have more time to develop your people. Right. And so the top people focus on business development and people development, not showing homes. So business development, people development, get coached, make sure you have process for everything. And the day you get your license, get an assistant or partner with a company that can provide transaction management services, all of the administrative stuff that an agent's day is sucked away from. Let it go, and then just do deals.
I know that you really advise agents to bring on an assistant, bring on extra help to take some of the administrative stuff off their plate. Why is that so important to you?
It's not that it's important to me. It's that I believe it's important to them that, if they're going to spend time away from the things and the people they care about most, then how do they get the highest return on time? So if you look at your day as inventory and every minute has value, what do you want to spend it doing? Do you want to spend it doing things that somebody else could do for $20 an hour? Or do you want to do it on things that generate $1,000 an hour in return? And so I want you to focus on things that give you the highest return on time, because I want you to have a great life. It's not important to me. I just care about you, and I want you to get up every day and love what you do.
Right.
And most agents are salespeople, and when they get into the paperwork and they have to do all of the details, first of all, it's not in their natural behavioral style, so it causes them to operate at a high level of stress and anxiety because it's not their comfort zone. But they do it because they don't think anybody else can do it as good as them. Well, the reality is lots of people can do it as good as them, and most of them can do it better. So just let it go, delegate it.
Focus on what it is you do best,
Yep.
and let other people do the things that they do best.
Totally. And there's amazing people, and like not everybody's like you.
Right.
Like we're all different, and we're all wired different. We all have different life experiences, and that's what makes the world amazing. That's why teams are fun, because no matter who the client is or what the task is, I've got someone who loves them and loves that process, and they'll create a great experience for whoever's involved in it, because that's what they do best.
When should you start a team?
So the day you get your license is the day I believe you should start your team.
Okay.
You should immediately find, and so my definition of team is leverage. Yeah. And so when should you stop doing the paperwork? Well, the day you get licensed. I mean, your job is to prospect, list and show houses, negotiate contracts. Everything else you should delegate if you want to be successful. So right now.
And if people want to learn more about your study, where can they find it?
Go to workmansuccess.com/team study. And they can download it. It's free. We just did it for the industry to give them more insights on the impact of real estate teams in this awesome industry that we're all in.
Thank you so much, Verl.
Thanks for having me.